staff and new people that are going to help in the ISA until they get into being a licensed agent is really making sure that you understand the culture of Avo Realty. We are very unique. We're very different. We're not your typical real estate company. And when I say that, we bring a ton of value. Our agents join us because we lead with value. We give them opportunities with leads. We give them technology, more technology than a typical real estate company out there does. Support, they always have somebody available to help them. And so it's just really important that people kind of see who we are from the outside before, because it's real estate is real estate, right? You get started in real estate, you're helping clients, no big deal. But if you don't believe in the purpose of why you're working for the company you are, then you're kind of missing the whole point of what this whole master process looks like. So we were born out of a vision to help others achieve their dreams. Our deepest purpose as an organization is to inspire optimism and happiness in those we come in contact with every day through creative thinking, friendly, helpful attitudes, and by building authentic relationships with our clients, our team members, and other business organizations. Our mission is to seamlessly connect buyers and sellers together and to bring extreme value to the home buying and selling experience. As part of the Avo Realty family, you have partnered with like-minded people who care deeply about your success. Together, we can help more people achieve higher success and share the journey with others. We encourage big thinking, doing more, risking failure to achieve rewards, and having teammates beside you for support and morale. So I can't express that big thinking enough. That is one thing that I am constantly driving forward in all of our agents and just our business. In your business, as you become licensed and you grow your own real estate business, it is an unlimited world of potential. Money is abundant in real estate, wealth building through investing and just working with clients, and all the opportunities that come with it are just huge. So it really comes down to your mindset and what you make of it. But I want you to know that up front, because it's not just a job, it's a career with an opportunity to really change your life and to change future generations if you really take it serious, right? All right, so by this point, you've already signed your agreement, right? So we sent you that. So you've signed your agreement and received your welcome letter. How to pronounce Avo Realty? It's Avo. It's not Avio or Avo or what else have we heard? All sorts of things. It's Avo. We're Avo. Just so you know that. You know who we are. We went over that a little bit. You'll learn more about that as we go along. I have a couple of forms that I did not print out, but I will, to help me know you better. So if you'll fill that out, I'll give it to you before we leave today. That helps me on kind of knowing a little bit about you and your likes and dislikes and things like that. We're also going to dig into your sphere of influence. As an agent, that's going to be a big source of your business going forward. It's your network, it's your people, it's your friends, it's your family, it's your hairdresser, it's your kids' school, teachers. It's all of those people that we do business with that will reciprocate if they know that you're an agent. So we're going to learn different ways not to be a stealth agent, because a lot of people get into the business and they're like, oh, I don't want to ask for anybody to do business with me. Well, that's a different mindset than when you worked for a boss. It's okay to be stealth when you have an employer and you're just doing the 9-to-5 grind. But when you open your own business, which is what real estate is, you are now, that's kind of part of your job description, is getting out in front of people. So we want to start with our sphere of influence. I'll share a sheet with you that talks about, it's got like 100 points of people that you just need to jog your mind that could be part of your network. Okay. Church.
Sphere of influence is also abbreviated to SOI. So if you ever see like SOI in the database, that's what it means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know, because I remember when you guys were talking
SOI,
about it.
Sphere of Influence, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, be sure and friend me on Facebook too. We like to know that our agents, more so once you become an agent, that you're professional. We don't post political things. We don't post, we're professionals. And honestly, there's, of course, Facebook and social media is a good place for you to speak your mind. And of course, we want you to be authentic, but we're also super cautious about controversy, not just throwing out stuff to argue or racial things when you don't even know they're racist. It's just, there's all sorts of things out there in social media that are such trigger points. So we usually say religion and politics, just avoid. It's okay if you have it in your life. We totally understand, like religious beliefs, we all have our own, but as far as social platforms, we like to keep them off of there, and we usually can coach our agents to do a little bit better on those platforms. So just be sure and friend me. It's the Misti Bruton Broker on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, no big deal, but that way we can be friends. Action items. Your computer should already be set up to print. That's the office printer. So before you leave today, just make sure you can print. You will be printing, as an ISA, you will be printing documents for the agent that you set appointments for to go on those appointments. So they're little packages. You'll learn how to do that later. Not today, but we want to make sure that your printer is installed. If you don't already have the Zoom app on your computer, it should be on the computer, and on your phone, you'll want to install the Zoom app. We will also get you a link to order biz cards. Your business cards will be, currently they will say like in-house sales agent. Once you get licensed, we'll get you new ones that say realtor, or a title that you want to use if you've got something clever. But we'll get you business cards now to start handing out to your friends and family, just to let them know, hey, I work for a real estate team, and if you ever need help with real estate, we can assist. Okay. It'll also start to help you build up your pipeline. Okay. So as you're out talking to people, it's a great way just to start a conversation, to give a business card. Okay. So we'll get those branded to you. This is more for an agent. You don't need to do this as an ISA, but after you get licensed, we'll talk about this more, but you want to make sure and not be a stealth agent. So you want to make sure that your voicemail says, hey, this is Misti with Avo Realty. You also want to make sure your social media is set up to show that you're an agent. People are watching, and you may not even know they're watching. I can't tell you how many events I go to, and people will say, I saw you just bought a new house. And I'm like, wait, you've never liked a post of mine. Interesting. But they're watching, so you want to make sure that you, and this is, again, more for an agent than an ISA, but we'll dig into more of this later. It's just good to know not to be a stealth agent. Okay. These are some of the technology pieces that we use that you will learn over time. As an ISA, you're going to use Sierra, which is our CRM. You're also going to use, I guess that's probably it. What other programs? Yeah, I guess RPR. We'll use RPR, which is a program where we print out the paperwork. So we'll get you trained on that. And other programs that we use for expireds and for sell by owners.
Field would be one that we probably.
And Field, I need to add that on here.
And then
yes.
ClickUp is the other two.
And ClickUp. So we use ClickUp, which is where our pipeline is. Austin, do you use that very much? Or yeah, you do get in there and look at. Okay, so you'll use ClickUp. So we'll get you a login to ClickUp.
This is what it looks like. It's kind of like.
It's a project management dashboard.
So you can kind of go and see where the leads are. So this is like listings that are not in the MLS yet. These are hot nurtures, ones we've already met with, the no-shows, some of the appointments that we've got already going. So I mean, it's basically just like an organizational app that helps us all kind of figure out where everybody's at as far as like what the lead status is. So if like somebody's pending, or if they're about to close, or if they haven't gone on a meeting yet, or if they want to reschedule or something like that.
So how's this different from Sierra?
So it's
it
our
kinda keeps it
pipeline.
all tighter. if that
So
makes
Sierra,
sense.
we have 120,000 leads in our database, and I'll show you how it's all organized. It's not mass chaos in there. We actually have a lot of organization that's like a filing cabinet. But one thing that is super helpful when you're a real estate agent is keeping your top list of people that you're working with. So you have this database, and think about it, you know, leads are coming in, you're adding friends, you're adding people, you know, you've got all these people and you're adding tasks and you're doing all that stuff. But when I wake up today and I go, what do I need to work on? I don't want to go through 500 people in my database. I want to just know these are my hot leads that I'm working, like just top of mind. Sometimes you'll handwrite it out. We as a team use ClickUp because it's our top, we'll call it our top 100 people that we're working. It's people that we have appointments set for. Usually they only go in there if we have an appointment set of some type. So it's our hot list. So where we could filter it in Sierra and we could find that in our CRM, it's always more helpful to have it as a separate hot list that I know I'm going to go to immediately when it's time to do my prospecting. Because like anything, what you focus on expands. So if I focus on those people, I can quickly get them into contract. Versus if I'm going through my CRM and I'm like, oh, look, there's Aunt Judy. I haven't called her in 3 months. Hey, Aunt Judy. And now I'm 35, 40 minutes into a conversation. I need to focus on these people first, and then I can move on to my CRM. So everything is housed in the CRM, all the communication, all the calls, all the, we log everything in Sierra, and we just keep like a hot list of our prospects in there in ClickUp. You'll fill out all of your employment information with Gusto. Have you gotten a link to that yet?
No.
Okay, you'll get a link to Gusto. It tracks all your hours and does all of that. So all of your payroll stuff will be done through Gusto.
Okay.
This is more just how
for
can
you.
I, how can I know you better?
Sure.
Did this print, Austin, the 150 ways to build your database?
Yeah.
Okay, this is your mind jogger of people that you know that you want to add to your database. So this is all to help you build out your pipeline as you get started in real estate. So we'll help you talk to your SOI, and we'll give you ideas and creative ways to actually reach out to them, and at some point when you're ready, to let them know you're in real estate. But this is really, if you do this activity, you will realize that there are so many people that you already know that already know you and like you that will do business with you at some point if you let them know, hey, I'm doing this and I'd love to be a resource for you. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know anything. You just have to be somebody that they know, like, and trust. So you can take that sheet with you and fill it out in time. But that will be a big help in starting your real estate career as you build out your SOI. I'll tell you, it's one of the most uncomfortable, especially when you're brand new and you don't know anything in real estate. It's okay. It's a mindset thing. It's like, did you really know anything about the career that you're in now before you got started? The difference in where, if you're working for an employer versus working for yourself, the difference is that you got to be bold and you've got to be confident. Whereas when you started a job with a boss, you kind of got to tiptoe in and you didn't have to tell the world, hey, I'm doing this, come use me.
Right.
This is where you've got to be bold. I mean, that's the biggest thing you've got to realize is that you are a business owner. You're making a choice to get into real estate, and with that comes, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. And the beauty of being at Avo Realty is that you have a wealth of knowledge behind the scenes that can help you. There's always somebody available to answer any questions. So if you're talking to friends and you're like, hey, I'm getting into real estate, I'm getting my license, I'd love to be your resource on buying or selling a home in the future if you need it. And they're like, hey, so what about this? You can just say, you know what, I don't know, but I will find the answer. And then you call one of us, we help you answer that question, and you go back to that person and say, here's the answer to this. And it's so you're just starting to build rapport again around a new career that you're starting and trying to get them to trust you. And who doesn't like somebody that takes the time to go get an answer and bring it back? Like, nobody wants the guy that throws out a like they know it all answer when obviously you don't know anything because your answer is ridiculous. So it's totally okay to go and get that answer, but it's confidence and being bold, and it is something that you will need throughout your real estate career, that confidence. All right. Tips for making pain-free cold calls and overcoming call reluctance. I'm amazed at how many people in real estate are terrified of the phone. Period. It seems like introverts and terrified people of the phone are the ones who decide real estate is the career for me. And I'm like, I don't really get it, but it's okay because we all kind of have this when we start out. And we need to just call it what it is, right? It just is what it is. We have all this doubt and all of this fear. So it is very, very important for you guys to understand before you get started that sales is just a numbers game and rejection is just part of the formula. Once I finally accepted the fact that getting rejected gets me closer to a yes, and I really like yeses because I like to close deals and I like to help people and I like to make a lot of money, I started to encourage the rejection. So as I'm making calls and talking to people, no's actually make me excited because I'm like, yes, that's like one step closer to the yes that gets me that paycheck. So again, it's a mindset. In life, we're usually taught if you're rejected, you're not good enough. You're nobody likes me. This is sales. It is a numbers game, and rejection is just part of that formula. So it's just really important to understand that going into this career because we do have some books around. There's one called Fanatical Prospecting, which I wanted to have here today, but they were sold out on Amazon. So I'm going to I'll get you a copy of it. Actually, do you read books or do you do Audible?
I don't do Audible.
You like to read?
Yeah.
Okay, so I like Audible. So everything I do is on Audible. But for you, we'll get you a hard copy book. Fanatical Prospecting is amazing. I think it's by Jeb Blount. It talks just about the getting the excitement and the fun behind prospecting and why it's fun. If you really step on the outside and look in, when when you're talking to people, you're going to get all sorts of responses. You're going to get people that they're just not ready right now. Maybe they had this brilliant idea that they wanted to buy a house, and then they realized, oh my gosh, I got to get approved for this mortgage, and it takes all this time, and I got to gather all my documents, and oh wow, I need a little bit more money than I thought I needed to put down. So they still have a dream that they want to buy, but they just maybe don't want it right now. So if you catch that person, and we'll talk in a little while about the sales funnel and what that looks like, but if you catch that person at the wrong time, they're going to give you a no. And sometimes it sounds like a solid no, but in reality, it's just a no, not right now. And think about you when you're wanting to get online and look at something. My example is always car shopping. We always have this idea that we want to buy a car, right? Like, I need a car. And so we get online and we start searching, and it's like, oh, look at this one, and you've liked all these things. Well, behind the scenes, those car dealers are gathering all your info. They've seen every car you've looked at. You've likely put your name and your info in there, so they have your email address and your phone number. Well, then, the baby starts crying, or you're just busy. I got to get back to work. And that salesperson calls you and says, hey, I noticed you're on our website looking for cars. What do you want? Would you like to come in? And your first thought is, no, I don't want to be bothered right now. Doesn't mean you're not going to buy a car. It just means you don't want to talk to this person right now. And so what's the easiest answer? No. So you have to remember that no's are always conditional, and it's okay to get no's, move on to the prospects that say yes, but we don't want to trash those leads or give up on them, because they're going to do business at some point. It might be next month, it might be 6 months, it might be 12 months, but we need to stay in front of them. that's where our systems come in and play a huge part. Is they do a really good job of staying in front of that client, but it's hard to get those no's. So it's a mindset and just remembering they don't, it has nothing to do with me. They're not mad at me. Even if they're yelling at me, they're not mad at me. They don't even know me. How could they be mad at me? I just caught them at a bad time. So we have to just kind of remember that mindset of be kind and caring, even when faced with that negativity from the other side. It's rare that we get yelled at. I can't remember the last time I got yelled at, and I make a high level number of calls, but I think it's because of the way that I handle those calls. I, even if they yell at me, I listen first. I let them speak their mind, and then I give them a space to realize what they just did. So if somebody's like screaming, and I'm like thinking in my mind, like, this has nothing to do with me. They're having a terrible day, a terrible life. Who knows what happened? Maybe their dog died. You don't know what happened. People are messy. They might be in the best phase of their life. They might be in the worst phase of their life. We really just don't know. They may have to be forced to sell a home because they just got their first foreclosure letter.
Or they're in the middle of a divorce.
Or they're in the middle of a divorce. Like, we don't know what's going on. So lead with compassion and a listening ear. And they will say, if they're having the worst day of their life, they will say some things that will offend you at a high level. But I always listen first. I give them space, some silence for them to realize, wow, I just unloaded on this person. And then I just calmly and patiently say, I am so sorry. I must have caught you at a bad time. Would you like me to reach back out later? Sometimes they will hang up after they scream. Sometimes they will do whatever. Sometimes they just need a sounding block. So it's just human, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It can't possibly have anything to do with you because they don't know you.
Right. Okay.
So, call reluctance. What are you afraid of? Everybody is scared of something. The fear of heights, the fear of spiders, the irrational fear of the number 13. I did not know that was a thing until I saw this. And fear of getting the phone slammed in your face. Call reluctance. So, we all have fear of something. Tips for making pain-free cold calls. We don't make a lot of cold calls in this office, but a lot of people think our database is cold calling. Cold calling to me is more calling somebody that has not requested information. So we do call expired sometimes, and we do call circle prospecting. That's when we have a house for sale in an area and we call all those neighbors to deliver good news. Hey, your neighbor just went on the market. Just wanted to let you know there might be more traffic coming through. If you have any problems, here's my number. Feel free to reach out to me. Give them a resource. But a lot of people feel like our database is cold calling because they may have inquired a couple of weeks ago and we haven't been able to reach them. So by the time we get them, they don't remember filling that information out. They're really warm calls because the person has gotten online and given us their information. But
At least some sort of interest that it piqued about selling or buying.
yeah, so for the point of this, we'll call them cold calls, but just so you know, our database is not cold. Okay, number 1 for overcoming call reluctance, don't pretend to be their best friend. We are not here to make friendships in the long run, especially when we're in the ISA position and we're trying to set an appointment. We can build long-term relationships over time, especially when you're an agent. You can get out with a client, and of course, you're going to build lots of rapport. You're going to go through one of the biggest transactions they'll likely ever do in their lifetime, and of course, you likely will make a lot of friends in the real estate business. But it's very important to understand in the early phases of ISA, we're looking to be kind, we're looking to be considerate, we're on a scavenger hunt. I am asking 1,000 questions to understand what you want. Because just because they came in with an address that says they want to sell the house, there's a lot of factors that go around that. Are you in foreclosure? Of course, we don't ask that, but I'm thinking in my mind, like, What's their motivation? Why are you selling? What's motivating you? And sometimes you can't find it. They're just like, well, I'd sell for this price. Well, I guess that's motivation too. But at the end of the day, we're not looking to friend them, because some of these people will take up a lot of your time. They will talk to you about the weather and the dogs and the illness, and that's all fine and dandy. But we are here to do business and get back to the point. So it's just important to remember, because you'll look at some of the string text in there and it's, it's just gone. We have not talked real estate in weeks. We've been talking about, your family and your travels and all your stuff. It's a waste of time at this stage of the game. Those are conversations we can have later when we meet face to face and we're actually agreeing to get out and look at houses and do business together. So just keep that in mind. So everybody's suspicious of the too eager to please car salesman who calls you buddy or big guy, like you went to high school together. Don't be that guy. Even saying, how are you doing today, sounds disingenuous. The prospect knows you're a telemarketer. Pretending to be a friend is a turnoff. Just saying, hi, I'm John from the website shop, and the reason I'm calling is that I noticed, makes a huge difference. So that's very much how most of our scripts are. Hi, we introduce ourselves. Usually we don't lead with Avo Realty, and I will tell you, it has made a huge difference in our prospecting by not leading with we're a real estate company. And that is because most people have a really bad stigma around real estate. If I call you and I say, hi, this is Misti with Avo Realty, your first thought is, what are you trying to sell me? I don't want to buy, I don't want to sell. And so they will cut you off and they're already at no before they're at a yes. So our goal, and we will dig a lot deeper in this later, we need to get them to a yes as quickly as possible. There's some NLP, neuro-linguistic programming techniques that say once a person is in a yes state, they will stay in a yes state. So if they start in a no state, they will stay in a no state. So if I say, this is Misti with Avo Realty, they're already in no. They're like, salesperson, no. So the next question you ask them is going to be no. If I can get them to say yes early on, chances are they're going to say yes again. And if I can get them to say yes twice, chances are that third yes is what I'm looking for, which is an appointment to meet face to face. So don't overthink this at this point, but we usually just say, hi, let's say we're using the alias. Hi, this is Jane. I noticed you were looking at buying a home. How's that going? Or are you ready to get out and look at houses? Or I noticed you inquired about selling your house. Tell me a little bit more about that. We're just trying to get them in a mindset where they will talk and start saying yes to some other questions that we have.
Since it's not cold calling and we know their names, usually the first question that we ask is this their name?
Right.
They respond usually with a yes, and ta-da, their mouth is moving. So
Yeah, and this gets to be very important when you're out in front of clients as an agent, getting them into a yes state. We often are, Todd and I have been trained to nod our head yes. So when I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, are you ready to sign the paperwork? You automatically do what I do, because it's just natural tendencies. And when they're already doing this, it's very hard to go.
Power of psychology.
It's neuro-linguistic programming. I'm fascinated with it. It's something we should dig into more later, because it's so complex, but it is fascinating.
There's a lot of videos out there, so in your spare time you can watch it, because
NLP for sure.
You can use little I use them when I'm in front of people all the day. I use today a lot, because I want them to sense the urgency and to do what I want them to do today.
That's an embedded command. So by using the word today, I know you like this house. Are you ready to move forward today? You're like, yes. 100% yes.
And it's
All right,
Oh my God, what is going on?
even when I know
I
it's
wasn't
being
ready,
used
but
on
yeah.
me, even when I know it's being used on me, it's still hard to break from
Right.
somebody
It's
nodding yes.
intimidating.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Uh-huh. It is intimidating. And so we
It's
get,
crazy. Like, there's so many small, subtle hints of psychology that you can kind of manipulate.
oh, for sure. And it is, even though we are in a people business, I can't make you buy a house. I can't make you sell your house. Nothing if you are not there at that stage right now, there's nothing I can say to sell you a house, right? You might be able to sell me a car that I don't necessarily want because it's a little bit smaller of a purchase and a quicker decision-making process. But on houses, I can't force you to do that, but I can if I have dissected all of the necessities that you're looking for. So this is where in the rapport building stage, I've asked you all the right questions. I know you need to buy a house. I know what your price range is. I know what you've been pre-qualified with. I know what you're comfortable putting down. I know what you're looking for in a house. I've asked you all the right questions. I haven't decided this on my own. I've asked you the right questions. So once I get there, then I can use that power of urgency and some embedded thoughts and some neuro-linguistic programming to help you get over your, oh my gosh, I'm about to do this, fear. Okay. So if you're not there yet and I'm showing you a house that meets none of the boxes on your list, I can't force you to buy that house. It's not the house for you. So hopefully by now I would have asked you all the right questions. But people get reluctant. You know, it's a big decision. If I sign this, like, what next? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna $500,000 mortgage. Like, that's a lot of money. So, but as long as you've gone through the whole process and you know that this is their dream home, they've described it. We're standing here, we're looking at it, or on the reverse side, a seller that's about to foreclose or needs to sell for whatever reason. You've already determined. There's no option, there's no staying, you have to sell. And then they're sitting there going, I don't know what to do. You've already determined that we have to do this. So now it's time to start using the NLP to kind of help them overcome the obstacles and the fear that they're feeling. Okay. So we'll dig into more of that later, but it's pretty cool and it definitely does work. I think Todd uses it probably
every day.
Best. Yeah, you do use it every day.
They were trying to use it on me at Discount Tire. So when you get a nail in your tire and you go there, they were actually trying to use it on me, and I said, so if your front door is broken on your house, you want me to sell you a new house? And he backed up and
you reversed it.
You're like, I know this trick.
Yeah.
Don't try me.
So try to talk to the decision maker. This is probably more important when you're going to be meeting face to face. But
when you're setting an appointment, it's always good to ask if the decision maker is going to be at the appointment.
Okay.
Because we always want the decision maker
Yeah.
at the appointment.
Well, yeah, that's silly not to.
right, and a lot of times people will, I say a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes renters will fill out information on the house that they're living in to try to find out how much that house is worth. So a lot of times we'll get inquiries that aren't not only not the decision maker, but not even the owner of that property. So it's important. We do a little bit of research behind the scenes to kind of see, make sure we're talking to the right person. But we look at the tax records and verify that the owner matches the person that came into our database, because we don't want to waste time, obviously, on somebody that not only isn't the decision maker, but isn't even the owner of the property.
And if you're setting an appointment and say it's the landlord of the house, they're not at the house, so if you just need to verify where we're meeting, because if we show up, I've knocked on the door and the tenant was in the house, the landlord got pissed because I was I basically said they were considering selling.
Oh no.
So
Yeah, I think the most important thing you can do as an ISA, as an inside sales agent, is really put yourself in the shoes of the agent that you're supporting. So think about, you're setting appointments, and it's so easy to just set those appointments, right? I'm talking to Mr. Smith, and his address is 123 Main Street, and boy, I got it set for 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and it's in Gerald. It's an hour and a half away. So you really got to think about that agent that's going. So it's probably going to be Todd at this point. Todd's driving from San Marcos to Gerald, an hour and a half away. How's he going to feel if he gets there and, number one, we didn't verify it was the right owner, so the wrong person opens the door and slams the door in his face? Or, it's just really important to think, okay, this is an appointment where our agent's going to be driving an hour to an hour and a half away. I want to do a little extra research to make sure I'm talking to Mr. Smith, that Mr. Smith owns the house, that Mr. Smith is the person that's going to be making this decision, that there's not 10 brothers and sisters on the deed that need to be there as well. It's easier, like if the appointment's here in San Marcos or New Braunfels, it's no big deal. It's 20 minutes, 5 to 20 minutes away. It's really not a big deal. And sometimes we really can't decipher. Like, we're doing the best we can, but it's vague. Maybe they were only texting and we can't get them on the phone, in which case, you know, it's hard, but you want to get, you know, if it's an hour and a half away, you really want to ask yourself, does this feel like I'm talking to the owner? Does everything match up?
And some of those leads that are in the database have been there for a long time. So I've had it to where I showed up at a wrong house, called to verify basically the address of the appointment set. He had already sold that house and he was living in a different house already. So we just need to make sure we verify the address so that when we do, that we show up, number one, at the correct house, because that seller was so pissed that we showed up at the wrong house, he wouldn't do business with us anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We'll go into more of that later,
Yeah.
but just verifying everything. So it's okay to ask them. I have your address is 123 Main Street. Is that correct? We'll be meeting you at the house. Great. And then we run them through a system in Field now that we'll introduce you to, that has helped a lot too, because it puts the address and it sends a text to the person letting them know we're going to be there. You're meeting with this agent at this time. And it has the address. So if there's any corrections or if we made a mistake, they usually will reach out and say, you have the wrong address. Or, you know, that's not the time we agreed on. Or, you know, I need to reschedule. Whatever.
So Field, you said that's like an appointment setting?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we'll show you that. We'll walk you through it. It's really, really easy. It's our appointment scheduler. It allows us to see when the agent is available, where he's at on that day. We use that instead of Google Calendar, because Google Calendar.
It's kind of like, have you asked for your AC on your house to be serviced or something, and then somebody sends you a text?
Oh, yeah.
It's basically what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's helped us tremendously. We've had a lot less no-shows since we've been using it, I think.
Awesome.
All right, almost all of your fear is in picking up the phone. Being nervous before starting your calls is normal. It's the stage fright in our industry, but once your system starts dialing numbers and you start talking to people, it becomes routine and it feels natural. So I'll give you an example for me. I've been in the industry for a very, very long time, and one of my coaches, maybe 5 years ago, said, what is the one thing you need to do in your business to level up? And I realized in that moment, my biggest fear at that time was the phone. And I was like, that's crazy. I've been in business forever. It's the fear of rejection that's coming through, and the fear of just, you don't know what that person's going to say or do. And it's a phobia. Once you start building up a phobia, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger the more that you do it. So this position is really set out to be a great opportunity to get you in the right habits to being a good agent. There are no successful agents that don't pick up the phone. I don't care how many online lead sources or technology or fancy shiny objects that they have. At the end of the day, every successful agent out there uses their phone. They answer their phone and they pick it up to prospect, to call people, whoever they're prospecting. Some of them may not have online leads. It may be sphere of influence that they're calling. Each of us have a different way of prospecting, but at the end of the day, the phone in real estate is not optional, it's mandatory. Going both ways. Answering it, even when the calls are unknown or blocked, you still have to answer it, because 9 times out of 10, when you don't answer it, it's that one client that was gonna do business with you and you miss their call, and then something changes and they found somebody else. So just know that the phone is a big part of real estate. And that being nervous is normal, and it's just, we're gonna kind of throw you into the fire. Not necessarily the fire, because it's honestly to me, I choose to be an ISA because I'm good at it and because I've learned to enjoy it, and it's where I bring the most value. So it can be something that's really fun when done correctly, but it's a great foundational piece to being a real estate agent. Don't use other people's scripts for verbatim. Scripts are great. They're a great way to glance at and look at something when you don't know what to say. But just remember, you're just having a conversation with another human being. And it's okay to say, I don't know. I will find out and I will call you back. If you ever have that moment, we all have it when we're in a new industry and somebody asks you a question and you're just the panic attack sets in when you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna look like an idiot. I don't know anything. What am I gonna do? It's okay to not know. Like, I don't know. I just don't know, but I'll find out and I'll call you back. People do appreciate that. So we will provide some scripts that we use. We use a lot of texting templates. When we're talking to people, we have some scripts, but at the end of the day, just remember, it's just a conversation. Don't use those scripts as, oh my gosh, they didn't say this, and now I don't know what to say, and now I'm lost, and I don't know what to do. I'm just talking to somebody, and I'm just asking them, how their home search is going, or if they want to sell a house, and when I can meet with them.
We really don't use scripts. We come from compassion and wanting to help people.
In time, you will build your own scripting in your natural tendencies of just what you say. You'll come up with a script that works with you when you introduce yourself, because if somebody screams at you on day one when you're introducing yourself, you'll adjust that and you'll adjust it and you'll adjust it, and eventually you'll find one that works. So I don't get yelled at very often, and I think it's because I've navigated getting yelled at a lot, and I've adjusted my sales in so many different ways that now I almost know my way of saying it so that I get around all the obstacles so I can get them to yes. And it's just a skill that just takes time. It just takes time, and we're all going to be different. You can hear me making calls and you can learn from me, but at the end of the day, yours is going to be different than mine, and that's perfectly fine. You take the one that we have and you just adjust it until you find one that's natural to you. But just be patient and just remember, it's just another human being on the other side of the phone.
What I usually see is there's an opening sentence or two that just kind of gets the conversation started, and then after that, it's a discussion.
Yeah. So in real estate, or in this office, I'll just say in this office, we are all about going for the appointment, especially as an ISA. So when we are talking to people, we are trying to set that appointment, because urgency is everything in this business, especially when an online lead comes in or when they take action on our website. So we always say, look for the opportunity and go for the appointment. The minute you get the chance to go for that appointment, you go for it. Otherwise, you might talk yourself out of it. When you get that appointment, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow at 3:00. Have a great day. Goodbye. There's no more conversation, especially if you're on a phone call with them, because I can't tell you how many times people are, great, well, would you like to meet tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow sounds good. Awesome. And then we go on talking, and before you know it, you've talked yourself out of that appointment. I don't know why human nature it works this way. It does. So if you are on the phone with a prospect, set the appointment, get off, move on.
So,
Same thing in text, but text is a little bit easier to control because you have time to think about your responses.
To do the closing. Like if somebody's like, oh, well, wait, this, like, yeah, I don't really have to respond to that,
Yeah.
But on the phone, you're just like,
Yeah, but we don't always think when we're talking, right? Like we don't have enough time to process and think, and so you can quickly talk yourself out of an appointment. So
on a buyer, what we're really after is the appointment. It's not seeing that specific house. So in a lot of cases where people talk themselves out of the appointment is they start qualifying the person with the house, and in all likelihood they're not going to be a match. But you want to get the agent in front of the person so that they can develop
some sort of
rapport,
relationship.
and it gives a chance for the agent to go find
First
other
one's
options.
always free. So
explain the first one's free,
So
so
when
she
we do it,
understands.
we do when you're setting an appointment and it's the first time that we've ever on a new client, we will go and show them the first house for free, basically. That
Well,
way,
we don't charge.
it's well, we don't charge. It's just
Explain
it's getting
for
in
free.
front of that person for the first time. To number one, the agent will then pre-qualify.
So what he means by free is if you are within the walls of Avo Realty Group, we are all about being efficient and effective with our time. So many agents get out there with buyers and they waste so much time. I've done this in my past. I know it firsthand experience. You get out there and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got a buyer. They want to see these houses. They're returning my calls. They're interacting with me. And I get out there and I open 27 doors for them just to find out that they're not qualified, that they have a bankruptcy, that they are never going to be able to buy a house, not in the next, 7 years or whatever. So when we say the first one is free, it's getting in front of them without any expectations. You don't need to be pre-qualified. Yes, we want you to start talking to a lender, so it's okay to say, have you talked to a lender? Are you going to be paying cash? Don't forget, there's a lot of people that are paying cash. Some people get offended if they say, if you say, are you pre-qualified? Pre-qualified, I'm paying cash, so it's important to ask, are you going to need a lender or do you plan on paying cash? And kind of open that door. So we want to start leading them in that direction, but I do not need a pre-qual on the first one. Now, if somebody calls and it is a house that just hit the market and it is going to sell in the next 24 hours, it's a little bit different market that we're in, the urgency that's required. So where we used to not really even talk about the mortgage, now we need to go ahead and say something like, the market is hot, things are moving fast. Are you going to need a mortgage? Have you already talked to a lender, or are you going to be paying cash? And if they're like, no, I haven't even talked to one, you probably want to go ahead and talk to one. I can give you a couple of recommendations, or, feel free to find your own. I will just tell you that who you use is important because communication and things behind the scenes with mortgage companies is critical to the job that we do. But you want to this market's a little more urgent, but that's what he means by the first one's free. I'm not looking for any conditions. I will happily meet you at that house and open that door. Now, the second door is a totally different scenario, and you as an ISA, as an agent, this is important, but as an ISA, you won't really be involved in this process. Behind the scenes, as an agent, the second door is different. You need to be on the phone with my mortgage company if you're going to need a mortgage, and we're going to be talking about quick pre-qual.
Now,
Because I'm not moving on to door 2 and 3 and 12 until I know you can qualify.
That's smart for the realtor. That's smart for
Yes.
the buyer.
yeah, and if they bring up the conversation of mortgages and lending and stuff like that while you're on the phone with them, absolutely send them our mortgage information. We have an app that they can complete online,
Oh, okay.
and so I always use it. They're going to need it anyway to put in an offer. So
Okay.
So two parts of that. First thing is, for their own sake, bottom line is if we show you a home and it's your dream home and you're not pre-qualified,
They can lose it.
it's gone.
Yeah.
In today's market, it's gone. So,
You gotta go in there ready.
right. The second thing is, pre-qualification does not lock you into a loan.
Okay.
It is just an example of one lender that will get you a loan, so just don't overthink it. Get one, get it pre-qualified, and then later, when you're at the very front and you've actually got a house, if you want to shop around, have at it. But don't make the pre-qualification, oh my God, I've got to pick the right company. Just go, hand them one that's ours. If you want to use someone else different, but just get it done.
yeah, I always recommend a second opinion anyway.
Yeah, in real estate, we don't ever want to give one name ever. In real estate, it is all about, we need to cover CYA. How about that? At all times. So if you think about, so as a broker, I have to think about this kind of stuff, but as an agent, it's very important too, as you grow your business. If I give you one name and you go use that person, lender, inspector, you name it, all the people that we use along the way, if I give you one name and you go use that person because you trusted me, and then that person does something that affects your transaction or something along the way, and they're in trouble, now I'm in trouble because I recommended one person. So we always give 3 names, just always use the number 3. If I'm going to give you a lender, I'm going to give you 3 of them. If I'm going to give you an inspector, I'm going to give you 3. It protects you in case the one they choose. Now you can put your favorite on the top. You can even tell them, this is the one that I work with the most. This is the one that I trust.
This is
So
the one I
that
have
has
experience with.
the best communication. But I need you to call all three, and I need you to make your decision, because at the end of the day,
yeah,
this
our
is you.
lender is not the best in communication.
He gives real good deals, but
He's good at what he does, but his bedside. What I tell him is, our lender is amazing at getting the deals done. His bedside manner is not the best.
Which I guess doesn't really matter if he's getting you the best deal, right?
Oh, it
Exactly.
will.
He's that lender that can get the hard clients done.
Really?
Yes, so
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
he's-
why I use him,
Yeah.
but he's not. He doesn't have the best bedside
He
manner.
is not for everyone.
All right, onward. Forget about being strong on the phone. So this is where it's okay to accept a no. You've got to be confident enough to ask for the business. So you can't be so fluid that you don't ask for the appointment. It is go strong for the appointment. When can we meet? I'd love to meet you face to face. I'd love to see if we can help you. I'd love to get you in that house. Does Tuesday work better or Thursday? You know, whatever. Give them all the options, but you don't be so harsh on going for. We're not in a sales position where we're forced to just be making people mad because we're so strong. So it's okay to take a no, and just to remember in the top of your mind that this may not be a solid no. It may be a solid no. Another thing is an ISA we have to decipher. Is this a solid no? Like, is this a no that I need to put in a not interested pond? Like, we're not going to touch them anymore. Or is this a, I don't know, I think we should stay in front of them a little bit more. So we kind of have to decide which one which, but don't go so strong that people are like, leave me alone, stop asking, whatever. So as sales people, we're often taught that you can't take no for an answer. You can. You can take no for an answer. It just means it's the time to move on, find the low-hanging fruit, and work with the people that want to be worked with today. Maybe there's another day for that person. Now you are Jane.
Sweet.
You are only Jane. So, yeah. But at some point when we see that you're moving forward, we'll get you your own login, and then you'll be able to kind of build out your own pipeline. So the good way to look at it is, right now you're not licensed, so you're setting appointments for other agents. As you get closer, some people are long-term nurturers, so those longer-term nurturers, if you get licensed and then they're ready to go after that, like, you can work those then as an agent. So you are building out a pipeline for yourself at some point once you get your own login. But even then, let's say that you've got somebody that's ready to go now, but you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be licensed in a couple of days. Just give it to a team member now. We'll let you play part, in whatever stage they're in. So as soon as you're licensed, you will be eligible to get more of a commission and have more opportunity. But, it's just go with it now. We always work as a team anyways. But, those that are longer term nurturers, you'll be able to work for yourself later. So it's kind of a win-win. All right, this is where, Austin, you'll probably want to watch this too. I know I just threw out some text, but
Now, will we get a copy of your?
yeah, I
presentation?
can print out all this stuff too, for sure.
Awesome, thank you.
So, and Austin, you can tell me what you think about this, but I'm thinking what we should do is, and this is again, as we get more people, because it's hard for us to work in the Jane ISA, to man the Jane ISA database. Well, let me think about this, because she's only going to have Jane ISA. So we'll keep doing it the way we're doing it right now.
License so we get more people.
Well, that's not true, because if she's in Jane ISA, she could be doing other things. Yeah, my thought is that we'll have, each one of us will work it at like 4-hour shifts, because I feel like any more than that's too much anyways.
Yeah, I agree, because there's sometimes where I'm just like, there's no tasks, there's no messages, there's no stirring the pot.
Well, and I've got a lot of stuff behind the scenes that needs to be done that we just haven't been doing, that leads to the same opportunities that we have in Jane ISA. I just haven't, I've been trying to figure it out behind the scenes. So with this, I think we're going to have one person manning Jane ISA at a time. And the reason that that's important is because it can get very confusing. We're all logged into the same database. Mm-hmm. Austin can jump over to, once you have your personal database, if you're logged into Jane ISA with the login that you have, you can emulate yourself, so you can bounce back and forth without having to log out and log back in.
Okay.
So with that, if we're all doing that, bouncing out in and out, it gets very confusing, and sometimes the system lags just for, maybe like a minute if you don't refresh. So if Austin's texting somebody and they just said, yes, I'd love to sell my house, come visit with me, and both of y'all are texting at the same time, then both texts go through and the client's like, what is going on? And then we have to like roll back and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that was not meant to happen that way. So I'm thinking the way that we'll handle it going forward, right now we've navigated it and it's been totally fine. We've been able to kind of be good. Intuitively, I can tell what he's working, in which case I work something else, but not everybody's going to be able to do that intuitively. So I've broken it down to where we'll each have a set of tasks to do every day. Okay. So when you're working your shift, during 4 hours of that, you'll be manning the JNISA database, which is checking the inbox. Sometimes we call it stirring the pot. We'll talk about that later, but that's where we're grabbing old leads and trying to rejuvenate them, and just going through the database and doing the things that have to be done to touch leads that, have been in their nurturing. So with that, I've got a system that we're going to be doing. I just have to figure out how to schedule. I don't know if anybody's got any ideas on a scheduling system, but how to sign up. I guess Google Calendar. We can just run a Google Calendar to see who's working JNISA, or we can just write it on the whiteboard. Like today you're doing the morning shift and you're doing the afternoon or whatever. Okay. However it works. But with that, the other thing you're going to be working, so we work 2 databases. Before you get your personal database, you're going to be working an agent's database. So you'll be an alias of me and an alias of Jane. Okay, so once a lead gets a little bit warmer, and we'll talk about that, I'll get to a sales funnel that'll explain it later. If you think about when leads come in, they're up here, they're just looking for basic information, or they just had this high level idea to inquire about real estate. As they come down the funnel, they get hotter and hotter. There's a phase in there that we need to go ahead and assign them to an agent. They're ready to have serious conversations. They're done with the blah 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 that we talk about as ISAs, like I talked about earlier. We're not really building that deep relationship, but when they're ready, they go to an agent. And so Austin, I think you check all of our databases right now. But really, in a perfect world, you would, depending, when you're working the shift, you would cover my database. You'd be doing just Jane, or when you're doing the other stuff, you'd be checking my database. And it's really the same thing. The system behind the scenes is really the same thing. We're all running the same lead flow, which I'll walk you through. It's just, are you Misty or are you Jane? Let's see. Yeah, that's just who are you assigned to. Okay, so this we're gonna roll out. I am going to get a little timer. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, the Pomodoro timer. Have you guys heard of it? So this is what successful people use. It's a way to really make yourself efficient. There's a lot of, and as I've been kind of building out this system, I've realized there's a lot of details, and you bounce around. Like, I'm checking the inbox, and then I'm doing the new leads, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm doing that, but oh wait, I'm doing this, and then sometimes you forget. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of bouncing around, and then if you stir the pot, which is rejuvenating the old leads, it's back to the inbox, but then you forget to do this. So I use this system in my business, as I'm doing my own personal stuff, but I forget that sometimes it's something that we should all be using. So if you really, the Pomodoro schedule, what it is just focus time. Right now, I'm just focusing on this. No matter what is going on, I am just checking my inbox. I am clearing my inbox and doing this, or I am, stirring the pot, or I'm doing new leads, but it kind of helps us focus. So I'll print this out and we can adjust it. I just did this. I looked at what I was doing in my own personal database and realized I was not being efficient. So I wrote this out, and this is kind of how I work my inbox. So it's just 20 minutes of doing this, 10 minutes of doing this, 30 minutes of doing this. And it tells you, then you don't have questions, and then you don't feel like you were all over the place. You were very focused during that time, doing the things you needed to do, and then you ultimately get more things done during your shift. So I'll print these out. It'll probably need to adjust for each of us, but this would be a 4-hour shift for JNISA, what needs to be done if you are manning JNISA, and if 2-hour shift if you're working an agent's database. All right, this is a little bit of a long presentation. This was a presentation I gave a while back, but it is about lead conversion. I wanted to highlight it, at least for the mindset part, about, how do I make this a slideshow?
Oh, that's probably because we have it flipped. I don't, well, let me talk to my assistant. When do they want to do it?
Hold on.
Okay, let me
Shelley.
get that scheduled. All right, tomorrow 3:30? Okay.
Hey Todd, we're recording this, so if you could go outside
Sorry.
and talk, or get in a talk box. That's what these talk
The
boxes
talk
are. So we have talk boxes if you need to get in a, if you need to have a conversation. I use mine when I do interviews, or just if I'm having a conversation with a client, because I get loud sometimes, especially if it's an older client that can't hear. It's like if they talk loud, I talk loud, and then we're talking really loud. So they're open. You're free to use them. All right, so what is lead conversion? Simply put, it's the process of converting a lead into a closing. But to get there, we move through the stages of conversion. We get them into conversation. We take the conversation to a face-to-face, and we take that face-to-face to a contract. We simply can't get a contract unless we're face-to-face with clients. I can't get face-to-face unless I get on the phone and have a conversation with them. So this is lead conversion. It all kind of runs into what a funnel is, which we'll talk about in a little while. Leads are nothing if you can't convert them. So we have a database of about 120,000 people. If they get into a contract and close, we mark them closed. They come out of the database and go into a pond, which is our past client pond. So all the leads that you see in the database are opportunities that have a $sign next to them. They've all been paid for. We have spent money on them. And you know, it's a numbers game. So at the end of the day, I'm always tracking ROI. How much money do I spend and how much money do we convert? That's why this position is so incredibly important, because one, we're the first point of contact for our entire company. So we're kind of the face of what people feel and think about us and decide if they want to work with us. But at the end of the day, all the leads are people. But it's just a lead until they talk to us and we convert them into being able to get face-to-face. So it's money, 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 money. And that's why this position is kind of just the driving force behind it all. We are the reason that they want to meet with an agent or they don't. And our automated system sometimes works in the way for us and puts in roadblocks. But at the end of the day, we have to have some automation behind the scenes so that we don't, because there's just no way we can talk to all of these people on a daily basis. Conversations are the new leads. Conversations lead to connection, and connections ultimately lead to conversion. Work on building relationships. This is more agent focused, but work on getting into rapport. Always focus on getting the appointment. That is the number one thing we are focused on behind these walls, is getting the appointment. So it is always, if I see the opportunity to get face-to-face with them, set the appointment, ask questions later. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I need to set the appointment. Is this somebody that we want to meet with? I don't even know. Like, I don't know where this area. Set the appointment, ask questions later. Great. Would 4 o'clock Monday work good for you? Great. Let's put that on the calendar. I'm going to have my scheduling assistant set that appointment for you. You'll get a text and an email. And then go to us or the agent and be like, oh my God, I don't know where this is. He wants to see a house and blah, 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 Texas, and we can make a decision. It's always better to go back to the prospect later and say, I am so sorry, I'm going to need to get you somebody else. We don't cover that area, or Monday at 4 doesn't work for us, so we can reschedule. Rescheduling is much better than having to, let me get back to you, trying to find somebody's calendar. Are they available? Set the appointment, ask questions later. We will find somebody to go on the appointment, or we'll reschedule if we need it. It's not a big deal.
And we have access to the realtor's schedule anyway, right?
Yeah, in Field, now that we're using Field, you will see their schedule, so it makes it a lot easier. Sometimes when you're talking to a prospect, especially if you're on the phone and you're like, oh my God, I can't get into Field, just set the appointment. Literally, just take a guess. You've got me as an agent, Todd as an agent, Ron as an agent, and we've got all the Avo agents out there that somebody will be available. Yeah, we will figure it out. It's just always better to have that mindset. Set the appointment, set the appointment.
It's easier to reschedule an appointment than it is to set the appointment.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no magic bullet to lead conversion for real estate agents. Keep it simple, keep it real, be authentic, and keep it consistent. Always remember there is a real human on the other side of the conversation, and they don't have your script. We're just having conversations. Yeah, it stops sometimes. Rule of thumb, we always want to assume that these leads have already talked to 5 other agents, if not more. By the time they put, if these are not, these leads that we work in our database, we have paid for them. Nobody's exclusive, even if we spend extra money to have exclusive leads. When you get online and you're searching Zillow and Realtor.com and you name it, website, your name is going out everywhere. So always assume that they're talking to lots of agents. We're just trying to be the best. And I find in this market and just in general, being the best agent is having the urgency to get face to face with them. So it's always going for that appointment. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to be everything. We just have to have that urgency that gets them. I always take it back to like car sales. We're nothing like car sales, but if you just think of the process, because we've all bought a car, right? You just think of the process behind it. I remember once buying a car that was not the car I wanted, but the salesperson was so amazing, and he was like, took the time, and he had the urgency, and he kind of pushed me through the cycle to get me where I wanted to go. It wasn't a bad car. It just wasn't the car that I went looking for, but it turned out great. It's really no different. These people are talking to lots of different people. If the sooner we can get face to face with them, the sooner we can build something real behind the scene. Until then, we're just a voice or a text behind the scene. We're not human. So, and these days with text, you don't even know if it's a human or a robot. So we are nothing until we get face to face with them. So that is our goal, to get to that as soon as possible. Let's see. Steps to connect. Call them. Keep calling them until we reach this person. I filled out an online form yesterday for a company that we want to put a pool in our house, but I don't want to do it in the next year, but I'm curious, how much is that going to cost me? Like, I don't even know how much a pool is these days. So I filled out an online form, and boy, they did the script of, and super kudos to them, but they sent me a text and said, hey, we got your information. When's a good time to call? I didn't respond because I don't want a pool right now. I don't even want to think about a pool, but I really do want to know how much I need to budget for one in the next year. And they called, and then they started calling, and they would double dial. So they called, and then when I didn't answer, they called again. So they double dialed. I was like, oh, I know this. I know what you're doing. And then they sent another text, they sent an email, so 3 times that day they double dialed me. Wow. And that's kind of the same system that we need to run as well. We have it going on with our automation, but we haven't been as diligent. But I was impressed. I was like, I know this game. So keep calling them until we reach this person. I'm that consumer. I'm going to buy a pool. Not now, not in the next 12 months. I want to know. So right now I'm in the education phase, right? I'm in that high level. I just want to know what I need to know. I don't care if you're super sweet and awesome. Like, I want my questions answered, and then I want you to leave me alone. I'll let you know when I'm ready to do it. But if they don't stay in touch with me as I move down that funnel, I will find another company and go use that company. So online leads for real estate are no different. So it's important to keep calling them until we reach them, so that we can answer their questions, so that we can show we can bring value. Most real estate agents give up after one follow-up call. They call, you don't answer, which I didn't answer. Doesn't mean I don't want to work with them, but you can imagine how that salesperson is thinking right now. I filled out something with all my accurate information online, and I'm not responding to their text, and I'm not responding to their calls. I'm just not at that point yet. I might return their call today. I might answer their call the next time they call. Actually, that's who was calling me. They were double dialing me again. I was like, who's double dialing me? They're still going on as I was eating my pizza. But most agents give up after one call. So you get an online inquiry, somebody calls, an agent reaches out to that inquiry, and they give up. You're missing all the low-hanging fruit. average statistics say it takes about 8 attempts to convert an online lead.
Wow.
I'm going to say it's even more than that. It's probably between 12 and 14 touches. So if you look at our database, we will have leads that have been in there for years. You will see just long. You can see they came in years ago. And we've got lots of touches in there. Our older leads sometimes turn into our best leads because they've been in there and they've nurtured long enough and now they're ready. They've educated themselves. We've sent them helpful information. We've stayed in contact and now they're getting close to being ready. So older leads to me are the better opportunities. But when we get the chance to educate, just be pleasantly persistent and consistent and get that conversation when you can. It may not be a yes today, but it will be a yes as long as, you know, they are still wanting to buy a house. So just keep doing it and just pleasantly kind of help them through the sales funnel as they're educating themselves and getting down to the point where they're ready to buy. The Nordstrom's example, think about how people interact with department store clerks. Let's say you walk into a department store and the clerk asks, "Can I help you?" What's your immediate response? No. I say it all the time and then I turn around like, why did I say no? Like, I don't like shopping. I wish that they would come and help me. But the natural response is no, I'm just looking. But as you browse and you find those perfect shoes, you are going to walk. Are you going to walk to the first clerk? No, you find the clerk. Or are you going to walk to that first clerk? No, you're going to find the first person available. I do it Nordstrom's all the time in the shoe department. That's the only place I go every so often, and I'll buy shoes. And that first person always comes and asks, and I'm like, no, I'm just looking. Because I just walked up. I got to like look at all the landscape. And then, I mean, the minute I find them, I turn and there's that one person. But I see the other guy who's like, I'm sorry, buddy, you weren't right here when I needed you. So it's just the natural, it's the natural response of a consumer. And so it's just very important to put our mindset in that same place of the consumer and realize, you know, their mindset and how we shop in general.
And most consumers want to be told what to do.
That is true. All right, set the appointment. You've got them on the phone, but how do you convert them into an actual appointment? It's simple. Speak to what they called about. If they inquired about 123 Main Street, simply set the appointment to see 123 Main Street. Don't be the sales prevention team. Don't overqualify them. Don't send them to your lender. Don't make them come to you or to your office. Remember, if they want to see the house, set the appointment. Show them the house. If you can set the appointment, then you're done. Hang up the phone. What if the house is pending? So this happens a lot, especially in this market. Most things are pending. They just don't last very long. Set the appointment anyways. We will let the agent decide how to handle that situation. As long as the listing agent will allow us to show a house that is pending, we will show that house to the prospect. The only reason is to get in front of them and to get to the point face to face that we can start to build rapport. So it doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. Don't go back and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, the house is pending. Set the appointment, get it to the agent, and let the agent handle it. If worst case scenario, the listing agent won't let us show it, the agent can handle it at that point, or they'll come back to you and ask for assistance. You know, I can't show this property, in which case you can take it from there, but put it in the agent's hands to begin with, because if they can get in front of them, then we will get in front of them, even if the house is pending. And just so you know, behind the scenes technique on that is if we get into a house that's pending, we just tell them, I'm so sorry, this house went pending yesterday, but I have a list of other homes in the area that you might want to see. So if you have time, why don't we go take a look at the one right up the road, same price, blah, 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 whatever you tell them about it. And then you just go show the next house. But now you've built some rapport with them, and that's the whole goal. So it's just getting that face to face. Let's see. Always come from a place of curiosity. We are Inspector Gadget when we're in ISA behind the scenes. Always speak to what they're asking. So if they're looking for information about a property, we'll show you how to find that information. But speak to what they're asking. But if they're being vague and don't really want to give you specifics, come from a place of curiosity. When would you like to move? What does that look like? In a perfect world, when are you going to be in your house? So if they're giving you information, take it and log it in the database so that we have all that information, because that's the whole thing. We're gathering information. Do we have their correct name? Do we have their correct email? Do we know what area they're looking in so we can set them up on a search? How many bedrooms do they want? All the things. And same thing on the seller. We're trying to gather information. Do we have the same right name, the right email, the right phone number? Tell me a little about your house.
Right property information.
Right property information. Is this still the correct address? All the things. So we're just in Inspector Gadget mode, asking all the questions, and just, you know, and ultimately show that you do really care. But we're still going for that appointment. Be human, but go for the appointment as an ISA. Come from curiosity. I'm just curious. That's always a great way to overcome any objection. So if somebody says something, you know, I'm curious. Is this something that you're buying for an investment, or do you plan to live there? Are you looking at any other areas besides this one? You know, some people will say, I'm just looking, or they'll come in on a specific house, and so you can see that there's nothing else available and that house is pending. Are there other areas you're considering? How many bedrooms? What price range? Do you currently rent your home? That is a very important question to ask for buyers, because we want to know if they have a property to sell. So are you currently renting, or do you own a home? Because I will tell you, when I was a new agent, I wasn't coached or told to do this. So for some reason, I had the mindset that I am, you know, somebody called me and they want to buy a house. So I go out and I show them that house, and I'm all focused on getting them into this house and writing the contract, but would forget to ask if they had a home to sell. And they would later tell me, oh, we're meeting with an agent, or oh, we just met with an agent to list our home. So if you don't ask those questions, you really don't know. And a lot of the consumers, my best friend, for an example, did not know that buyer's agents and listing agents were really one and the same, that we could all do the same thing. She thought I was a listing agent, so I listed her house. Come to find out, she bought a property through another agent, and goes, oh my God, I didn't know you were a buyer's agent. I'm like, how? She's very smart. I mean, she runs a very successful business. I'm like, how can you not know this? They don't know.
People are just high educated.
They just don't know. They don't know. So it's a very important question we want to ask. For seller or for buyers. Are you renting a home, or do you have a home to sell? Because in this office for the Platinum team, we are really focused on sellers. We want listings. We are a listing machine. We are going to have more buyer's agents as you guys start to roll out into the field. You guys will become buyer's agents first, and then you'll learn to be a listing agent. But that's typically the introduction into real estate, is being a buyer's agent, learning to get comfortable in front of clients, learning to answer questions, seeing how the process works. So in time, you will be the buyer's agent out there. Right now, and even then, our prospecting at a high level is focused on sellers, because every sign in the yard should capture, good grief, an unlimited amount of buyer inquiries that are coming in. So we feed those inquiries to our agents outside in the Avo Realty group. So we've got Omar, we've got Michelle, we've got Nicole, we've got Bethany. Oh my gosh, we've got quite a few others, but we feed those buyer leads to them. As the Platinum team starts to build out and we have our own buyer's agents, we'll feed this team first, and then the overages will go to them. I buy tons of leads, so they have tons of opportunities. But in a perfect world, being a listing agent is really kind of where all the opportunity starts from, as long as you have good systems. So that's what we're focused on right now. As we're working through this database, you'll see we're super heavy on sellers, because that's where we focus. Handling sign and ad calls. There are many scripts and different ways to approach lead sources. Sign calls are likely sitting in front of the property, wanting to know the price and to schedule the appointment. Speed of response time is critical. We use a program called VoicePad. We may be changing that, but VoicePad is our, it's an 800 call capture number. So when they call in, Shelly gets it all set up where it's routed to the right people. Right now our agents take those calls, but they still come into the database. So you'll see them as a VoicePad. They are so frustrating because they come in with the last name first and the first name and in all caps. So when our automation goes off, it texts them, hey, and then all caps, last name, first name.
Hey,
Oh.
Bill Miller!
It's awful. Exactly.
It's like,
Wow.
hi, just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
It's like, wait,
So we're working on that, which is another reason we might be changing VoicePad. But regardless of if it's a VoicePad or another system, we have sign calls. If you are, and at some point we need to get phones opened up where we'll start answering calls. So you'll know if you're answering a sign call, that is where you really try to go for the appointment. They're likely sitting in front of the house because I doubt they wrote down the 1-800 number and the code that they had to type in. They're probably sitting there going, hey, how much is this house? So we'll do a little bit more training around that later, but just keep in mind that that is one of our lead sources. Sign call scripts that convert. Hi, I see you're inquiring about 123 Main Street. When would you like to see the property? Does today at 2 work or tomorrow at 5? Which one works best for you? See how it's kind, compassionate, but I'm answering your question. You came in on a VoicePad call. I don't need to be like, hey, how are you? I'm just like, hey, when would you like to see? I see you inquired. I'm going straight for the, I know you inquired about this property. When would you like to see it? Worst case, they go, oh, no, I'm just curious about the price. Great, we can tell them the price and stuff at that point, but the first way to convert them is just go for the, just try to set the appointment so that our agents can get in front of them. Online leads. There are various ways of handling online leads. Zillow and Realtor already have access to relevant information. These days, consumers do their own research. Typically, I don't need a real estate agent to show me pictures online or to help me kind of nail down what I'm looking for in the areas that I'm looking for. Most of the time, they want to set an appointment to see that property. Currently, we don't have Zillow and Realtor.com leads. We've turned those off. They've changed and they're a little bit different dynamic. A couple of years ago, they were the hottest lead source that you could pay for. They were about $100 each, very, very expensive, dollar signs, just checks being written everywhere. And they were really, really hot leads. If you could get to them within the first, I think we nailed it at like 2 to 5 seconds. If you could get to them within 2 to 5 seconds, you could convert them as long as you'd set the appointment and get in front of them. Right now, the lead sources that we have are a little bit different, but it's still, you still want to ask if they did come in on a property like a sign call. You still want to treat them where, it's, would you like to schedule an appointment to go see this property? Website and PPC driven leads, which are the ones that we have right now, are usually just getting started in their search and likely haven't targeted a specific home yet. They need more education, in which case, most of them will know their area that they're looking. So again, we set them up on a search in our database where they'll get emails daily or when new listings hit the market. So we're trying to keep them in our ecosystem and off of the sites like Realtor and Zillow.com. Because the minute they get to Zillow and they fill out a form, it is shot out to tons of agents. Once we meet face to face with an agent or with a lead, we usually tell them that. So that's something I will say. You might want to avoid Realtor.com and Zillow because they sell your information to lots of agents. So if you want good up-to-date information, just, you can use our search site. It's avorealty.com. I'll get you set up on a search. If there's any questions you have, just reach out and we will get back to you promptly. And just trying to educate them on staying off those websites because they
can adjust the searches when they're in them there themselves.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, they're in control and and all our stuff is actually real time with the MLSs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A script that converts with the PPC leads. It's I noticed you were browsing on our website for homes. Are you just browsing or are you thinking about making a move in the next little while? That's a pretty common thing that we hear. I'm just looking. And so if you kind of diffuse it by saying, hey, are you just browsing or are you really thinking about making a move? It gives them the opportunity to kind of say, well, we're thinking about making a move, but maybe later down the line. Okay, cool. our website is free. Like, feel free to browse it as often as you want. Anything that you like, you can favorite, and we can save it. It gets saved in the website, so it's kind of cool. The consumer experience on the website's pretty cool. They can do everything that they want to do on our website that they can do on Zillow and Realtor.com. We just, if it's us that they're searching on, then obviously we'll keep that communication. It's not getting blasted out to 25 other agents that are going to be blowing up their phone. It's our website, which let me show you the front of it. It's linked to lots of different MLSs, so they can get literally everything in Central Texas that is active. It's up to date. It's there's nothing lagging on it. It's not, as soon as something hits the market, they'll see it. They can search by map. They can search by all the different areas and everything. I think all the MLSs, we've got Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Central Texas. We pretty much cover the state of Texas. But there's lots of, and once they log in, because it'll prompt them to log in, they can start saving listings. You can search by communities. There's buyer and seller resources, and all sorts of search options.
Awesome.
So I just encourage them to use ours. It's up to date. All right, let's see. Older leads. This is a script that I use sometimes with older leads that have probably, filled out something. I always know that they've probably talked to 5 or 6 agents or more, depending on where they filled out their inquiry. Hi Jack, this is Misty. I hope you remember me. We connected a while back when you were looking for homes. I just wanted to check in. How's the home search going? And whatever their answer is. I totally respect that. I didn't have it in my notes. Was this something for investment or a home you're planning to live in? So kind of creating that, you'll see that a lot in the databases with our text. We have a lot of text templates. So instead of having to re-text out all these things, we find our favorite texting scripts in there, and you can just pick one. A lot of them say, hey, we spoke in the past, or just circling back around to our last conversation. The person might be like, I never talked to you, but they're not thinking of you as Jane or you as Millie. They're just thinking, right in that moment, they're thinking about themselves, and I'm forgetful. I mean, most of us are forgetful. So maybe I forgot. It kind of encourages them to not only be a little nicer, but to be a little more attentive, because if they're like, oh my gosh, I talked to this person, like I need to hear what they have to say. So using little things like that kind of helps it helps convert the leads a little bit more, and you'll just kind of see that. So if you're sending something out and you're like, well, I didn't talk to them, it's fine. It's just part of the scripting that we use. Worst case scenario, anything weird that goes out in the database, if it prompts them to engage with us, that's good.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So if it's something that we send out that's totally random and oh my gosh, I shouldn't have sent out that, and then they respond, it's okay, because they're interacting with us, and then we get the chance to apologize and take it to the next level. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to send that. Or that was the wrong information. Tell me more about what you're looking to do.
Knock knock joke. Wasn't that one of the texts?
Oh yeah. We have some automation in our database that is, we use Hatch. Eric Hatch is a friend of mine and a previous coach. And some of it's a little weird. So we're probably going to move a little, well, it converts good. If I look at the numbers, honestly, 100% of the weird texts get responded to. So, but it talks about aliens. It talks about some weird stuff. And so I don't know how I feel about that. But yes, anyways, it's kind of funny, goofy stuff. It's just meant to get people.
It's a hook.
It's a hook to get people to engage.
Especially grammar errors, they'll correct you.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it. You just have to use it.
Jane actually corrects herself. They don't correct you for her. Like, they don't, like, say if you sent that text out,
Yeah, the
you'd
next.
be saying out the 2 texts, not a response saying, hey, your is how you spell it.
Yeah.
Like Jane
It's
says
part
that
of the
herself.
automation.
Like, she's like, oh, no.
No, but it's a client that corrected Jane.
No. Is Jane corrects herself.
Yeah.
Oh.
So then why did I go as a conversation? Wait.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. See, look, let me see if I can find it.
So conversion rules. There is, you'll hear this a lot in real estate, the WIIFM. Everybody, including you and me and everybody in this room, we're what's in it for me, right? It's just natural. It's how we're born. It's just the human nature. So when you're talking to people, I'm very fortunate. I have a counseling background. I was taught through lots of training how to listen, and I'm still not very good at it at times, but I'm better than I ever was before because I have training in it. But listening is a huge part of it. So, and people want to know what's in it for them. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about us and what we need. All they care about is getting their needs met. So whatever it is, we don't typically talk about ourselves. So it's easy. Like if somebody's like, oh my gosh, I have an Aussie. I love Aussie dogs. Or, hey, I like to snow ski. It's so easy to like get down that rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I just went on vacation and we just went on this fabulous trip and blah, 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 blah. They are like, wah, wah, wah. They don't care at all. So the best way to handle this when you're talking to leads is do not talk about yourself. Show them what's in it for them. Constantly telling them what's in it for them in whatever way you can. You've identified what they want. They're looking for a house. They're not ready to get out and look at it. Do you need a mortgage lender to talk to? I can help you get that. That can help you get to the next stage of the process so that we can get out and start looking at homes, but always just thinking intuitively about what's in it for them and lead with tons of value. That's what we are. We are value, value, value. And at the end of the day, if we bring value to enough people, we'll all make a lot of money. So just give in any way that you can, and think about what's in it for them and what they really want from us. Give. Just keep giving it, and eventually we'll get face to face with them, and hopefully they'll want to do business. Transition questions. Use transition questions when responding. Do you live in the neighborhood? How soon were you thinking about moving? Where do you currently live? Are you working with another agent? Do you own or rent your current home? Sometimes people will get off track in what they're talking about. So they will be like, oh, I was sick last week and, we're just not able to look. And then all of a sudden they're running down this rabbit hole of all the reasons that they can't move. Transition questions are great ways to bring them back to what we're focusing on. I am only here to talk about real estate. I am only here to, in my mind, of course I'm not telling him this, but I know I am here to set the appointment because I have 120,000 leads that I need to be servicing and helping with today. So don't be afraid to bring them back into the conversation and ask a question that's relative to whatever you guys were talking about, that's relative to real estate. And out of curiosity, how soon were you thinking about moving? If they're down the rabbit hole of my dog and my cat and my blah, 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 and you're like, oh my gosh, of course you show compassion. That's awesome. Or, oh, that's so sad. I'm so sorry to hear that. Out of curiosity, when were you thinking about moving? We are back on my conversation, but I want to know what's in it for you. So, but I'm just not here to be a counselor because we can talk all day about personal things. So transition questions are a way to keep people really focused. And maybe to take you to the next level of getting, if you're on that scavenger hunt, getting to the next level.
And through my experience, not only just through real estate, but if you limit the amount of stuff that you can kind of compare yourself to with the client, so like for instance, the Aussie that you said, oh cool, I have an Aussie too, and then you still bring in what the actual main conversation is supposed to be. So it's just limiting the amount of time that you say that you're comparing with. But still get back to like why you're initially starting the conversation, right? So it's just like 4 words, just so that way they know that I'm still interacting with them, still kind of sympathizing with them, still kind of relating to them, so that way they know that it's not
making
just
them feel like a person.
Absolutely.
Exactly. It's not so like robotic, and it's not so only professional. Which I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great, but you add a little bit of color to it, and it makes you that stand out that much more, right?
The way I like to kind of visualize and kind of paint the picture of how we are as real estate agents is how a doctor or a lawyer would be. We're no different. We're licensed to do a specific job. When I go to my doctor, I've been going to my doctor forever. I know them. I know their just in all the years of going to them. I know their kids' names. I know their spouses' names. I don't know anything like very personal about it. But we have like conversation, but I don't go in and like unload all my like life on my doctor, right? And why? I mean, one, because that's not who I am, but two, because they don't allow that. They're on very strict timelines and they're there to do a job and they need to move on to the next client. So doctors and lawyers, because of the way that they, well, maybe not lawyers, they're fine to run the clock, but they keep it very contained in the subject that we're talking about here. So I look at us as agents as the same way. So if that's the case, you know, we're the nurse there to do the job, and the agents are the doctors that are out in the field doing the other side of things. But when you look at it that way, it's just, it kind of gets the right mindset going for us and keeps us on track and focusing, because our time is extremely valuable. We own our own business, you know, when you get that out there in the field, and you can't just be freely giving your time, or you will be a very inefficient agent. And when you're inefficient with your time, time equals dollars, and the more time you're giving away, the less dollars you're making. So it starts to become, you know, if you're spending, and it's another reason why listing agents are much more efficient, can be much more efficient than a buyer's agent, because a buyer's agent, we're usually having to show multiple houses, multiple days, driving all that, you know, all those miles, whereas a listing agent, we are here. Maybe I need to go once to meet with that seller, but it's really on my timeline, because again, I'm the doctor and I am telling you exactly what we need to do. We're having a quick conversation, we're agreeing to sign paperwork, and then I'm back on the road and back in my office doing everything else behind the scenes, or having an admin do it behind the scenes. So you just have to be cautious, because they will drain your energy and you'll end up spending your entire 6-hour shift talking to one little old lady or one bored old man that, you know, just at the end of the day is never going to buy or sell.
Right.
And we can still be kind, considerate, and sweet without giving them time that we don't need to. Let's see, Ford system. This is a good one to use if you don't know what to say. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. This helps you understand why they want to make a move, why they're looking to do real estate. You know, tell me, this is really helpful for agents as they're out in the field with clients and starting to build that rapport. Talking about their family, asking them, you know, at this point we're wanting to take that relationship deeper. So understanding their family can help us understand the dynamics of the house that they need. Occupation, recreation, and dreams. These are just rapport building conversations that help us get into deeper rapport. The longer term nurtures, as an ISA, we will likely use this because at some point we'll dig a little bit deeper. But the short term ones where we're setting the appointments, we really don't get into this on the ISA side. Oh, let's see. We will start doing some role play. This is helpful when I think the role playing that we're going to be doing is more so about our database and making sure that we're all using the same system. But we're going to be probably rolling that out soon here within this office, where when we meet in the morning, we have a platinum team meeting that starts at 8. That is where we go over all the stuff that we did yesterday, what appointments our agents went on, click up the pipeline. Did you meet with them? Are there any action items? Can I take notes? Did they not show? Do we need to reschedule? But then I'm thinking after that platinum meeting, we can run into some role playing skill set kind of stuff with us. So we'll do some of that. This is a good one. Just, we talked about it earlier. When buyer says no, it often means not right now. So just knowing that, I have to go through that. We have a pond that's called not interested, and I find our agents put people in there that shouldn't be in there. So within these walls of the platinum team, we just need to be more cautious. No does not always mean no. You'll know when it's a no. Because it might be a no, like you're like, I'm never working with this person. Like this person
you'll
is
get cussed out
awful.
quite a few times, and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? We'll put you over there.
Yeah, like we don't do business. We're not here to get abused. We're not here to work with people that we don't like. We're not here to. So you'll know when a no is a no, and a lot of times
Sanity's not worth your couple dollars.
Okay.
Exactly. So this is the funnel that I was talking about. When leads come into the database, number one, we're working to validate their contact information. We want to know if we have the right name, the right phone number, and the right email address. Can you set that first appointment? Again, going for that first appointment. Some of them you're going to realize they're just not ready, and they'll tell you, check back with me in 6 months, check back with me in 3 months, whatever it is. If they are a no, or even if they're a conditional no, so our ponds, you'll hear us talk about our ponds. We have a lot of ponds. We have Austin buyer pond, Austin seller pond, San Antonio buyer pond, San Antonio seller pond, several other areas, buyer and seller ponds. We've got a not interested pond. We've got is a realtor pond. We've got junk, which means we no longer have a valid email or a phone number, in which case I have no way of contacting them. Those become junk.
Or if they're valid, but just a completely different person. So then,
Yeah, because people change their phones,
Yeah.
right? They change their
I
phone
see.
numbers.
Yeah.
Things change
or
over
they put out a
time.
fake email or whatever.
Yeah.
Something different.
So if they tell us, you've got the wrong number, we just trust them, and you can pull down the phone number and just mark it a wrong number. And then if it's still got a valid email, then we'll put them wherever they need to go with a search for a buyer or seller or whatever they are. And then let it run. And at any point, if that email bounces and now I have no more contact information, we'll mark that as bad. And now they go to junk. Other ponds that we have, that's probably the basic ones that you'll need to use. If somebody says they're a realtor, we don't want to deal with them anymore. And I recruit out of those ponds. So we move them into a realtor pond. Junk pond, there's no need to bulk our database up with people with incorrect information. So junk, we don't do anything with. Not interested, that's just where you decide. That's the truly not interested. Like, we're never going to do business, or they don't own that house anymore.
Mhm.
They've already sold it, in which case, what good are we at this point? So they go to not interested. And buyers that are like, I moved out of state, I just bought a house, I'm staying here for the rest of my life. These are things that, even if they stay for 10 years, we're probably not going to, we probably would nurture them for 10 years, but yeah, you kind of make that decision. So if they're a no, they go into ponds. I'm going to talk about that, the lead flow system. If they're a yes, we move them to a warm or a hot lead stage, which I'll talk more about that. And as they're moving down the funnel, warm lead, we know that we have their good contact information. They're engaging with us. They're engaging on our website. They trigger some tags, priority alerts. So the website that I showed, if they take action on that website, some automation happens and it notifies us. And we have some filters to see all the people that are searching on our website. So that's a warm lead. And then, or if they need some kind of action. So open door. We do sell some of our properties to Open Door. We'll talk about that later. If they're asking, if it's a seller who says, hey, I don't want you to come visit, but I'd like for you to run some numbers, we might do an email CMA. Or if there's just questions to answer, they've moved, they're engaging. So they're kind of moving down the funnel. They're warm leads. We would assign those either to an ISA for nurture or to an agent. And honestly, we're always going for the appointment, even in the beginning stage as we're trying to get them to interact. We're still going for the appointment, but as we gather their correct contact information, they're engaging with us, we can see them engaging on our website, we move them to an ISA or we give them to an agent because we've set the appointment. And again, it's just at every stage. Set the appointment. The way that we handle our leads when we assign them to an agent, the ISA owns the lead, continues to be the owner of the lead. We add the agent on as the collaborator. So that means that they're going to start to see the conversations and they're going to start to be notified when that client responds. And they can also text that. They can now interact with that client because they're on there as a collaborator, but we still own it at the highest level, and I'll show you that later. And that's simply because the agents won't check their database and we'll lose opportunities.